It's been a long time since I've uploaded a video, and mostly because I was lacking the motivation and lacking the energy and creativity to keep filming videos consistently and also uploading these videos. I've been struggling a lot with how to brand myself and how to elevate myself in my content, but I'm back and I feel a little bit more re-energized, and I want to talk about some of the books that I really recommend and that I think you'll enjoy too as well. So for today's video, I was actually inspired by a topic that I saw on Pinterest. It's books that you would reread over and over again if you were stuck on a deserted island. Now, I have a lot of favorites. I have talked a lot about these books in the past, but hopefully if you haven't read it yet, you should add it to your TBR and read it soon this year. I think the first book that I want to talk about as I'm starting to apply my makeup is Can You Keep a Secret by Sophie Kinsella. It's a book that I've talked about many times on this channel. It's a book that I keep recommending to people who don't read books and who feel a little bit lost in life. Our heroine is actually stuck in a dead-end job. She thinks that she is going to get promoted sometime soon. She thinks that all the hard work that she has put in the past year would mean something in the end. But unfortunately for her, things go awry when she goes on a work business trip. If I'm looking away, it's because I am applying makeup to my hand so that I can apply it to my face. Now I'm moving in with foundation after I put on my concealer, but basically what happened was that her business trip goes awry. She's returning back home to the UK and her plane experiences a lot of turbulence and she thinks she's gonna die. So what does she do? She confesses all the secrets that she has ever kept in her whole entire life to the person sitting beside her. And she doesn't die. She goes back home only to realize that the person that she confessed all her secrets to were her future boss. And now it's a very awkward situation in the office where they always have to constantly work next to each other and also interact with each other. But what I liked about this book the most is because it's an underdog story. She does not believe in herself. She thinks that she is just going to be an average person all throughout her life, and she looks down on herself a lot of the times. But at the end of the book, through the strength of her friends and through the support of her person in her life that she can count on, she realizes that she is definitely worth something and that her voice really should be heard at a lot of the times too as well. So I really enjoyed this book, and I would reread this book anytime where I felt like I was lost in life, anytime where I felt like I was underperforming my peers, anytime where I just felt like I needed like a pick-me-up. And it was just so super fluffy and super cute, and I would highly recommend you to read it if you haven't read it yet, especially because it's also super funny. It's a romantic comedy and all the jokes really just make me chuckle every time I think about it. Okay, now that I finished applying my foundation, I think I'm going to set it with some powder. The next book that I want to talk about is One and Only by Jenny Holiday. It's a book that I've talked about like a couple years ago on my channel, but I stopped talking about it because I read a lot of books since. But One and Only is also one of those like underdog hero types of stories, but it's not our heroine. It's a trilogy series featuring 3 friends that are hopefully going to get married or involved in a wedding planning process. The series is called Bridesmaids Behaving Badly, and I think it's like perfect for the time where it's the spring and it's the summer where everybody is getting married. So if you want to read a book about marriage, then this is the series for you. Our heroine is actually a middle school author, and she like writes all these like fantasy stories. She's really deep into the world that she has created. She's successful. She is doing well in her life, but she is somewhat of kind of like a nerd, you would say, and she's like a loner, but she is tasked to keep control of her best friend's like brother because her brother is reckless and her brother did a lot of things in the past that makes him kind of like a wild card in the wedding. So her task is to make sure that he follows the schedule, he doesn't ruin her wedding, and that he is just tamed. But through the interactions that our heroine has with her friend's brother, she starts to realize that he is different from what everybody depicts him as. So he's the black sheep of the family, and he himself feels that way too as well. He doesn't feel like he belongs in the family. He doesn't feel like he's worth the trouble a lot of the times. And those are the special moments that I love this book so much. It was just so heartwarming and so vulnerable when our hero opened up to her, and I really like that dynamic and I really like that relationship. Plus that book is also set in Toronto and I'm based out of Toronto, so it just felt really nice to read about all these landmarks that I have passed through and I've went to in my life. Alright, so next I think I'm gonna go into my blush. as I think about a next book. So the next book that I would reread over and over again would definitely be a historical romance, because I love historical romances, and I feel like if I was on a deserted island, I would need to escape through a historical romance. So obviously I'm going to go towards one of my favorites, which is Tessa Dare. And one of the stories that I really, really enjoyed was Do You Want to Start a Scandal, which involves like a really silly plot where our hero and heroine are caught in a scandal. Everybody thinks that they hooked up at a party. So the whole society, like the whole family, everybody thinks that they should get married. And our heroine is like really strong, and she is really zany sometimes, and she is fierce, and she doesn't want to get forced into a marriage to someone that she just met at a party. So she's going to solve the case of who was actually hooking up in the library that she got caught in. And then she's going to like get away from this marriage because she's going to clear her name and things like that. Our hero is just kind of in for the ride. He is just there, caught in the scandal. He doesn't mind that he's going to be forced into a marriage with her because he finds her attractive, he finds her interesting, and he ultimately can see his life being built with her in it. So he's just in there for the ride and helping her out, solving this mystery, but really just falling in love with her first. And I just absolutely love this book. There were key pivotal moments in this book that just made me so happy. It would definitely help me forget where I was if I read this historical romance on a deserted island. So I think I'm just going to go for like a somewhat natural look, and I'm just going to apply some natural eyeshadow to my lid. I don't think anybody can see the glitter on my lids when I do wear glitter, but I guess it's just for me. Okay, I think I'm gonna bring in a new favorite book of mine that I've read recently last month that I think everybody should read. And it's not necessarily like one of my favorite books, but it was definitely a book that sucked me right in that I couldn't stop reading. So maybe that should be put in a different video where I'm tagging it as books that I could not put down. But I'm gonna throw it in here too as well because, hey, it's a great book. And that book is Coming Clean by Jen Trin. And this book was released on May 1st. It is a celebrity romance, but it is realistic. Now, one of the issues that I always have with celebrity romances is that it's not realistic and that it just feels so fake. It's always like paparazzi is getting in the way, the agents are like telling them to fake date, and you know, like it's just like all these different elements to it that makes it really hard for me to believe because I don't live in that world. It's not necessarily a fantasy world because it's real life. Like this is actually like happening to all the celebrities that we admire and we like. So I can't really extend that belief too much with celebrity romances. So I was kind of wary when I stepped into this book, but my God, this was such a realistic celebrity romance. Our hero is just having not the best time in his life. He has his own issues in his relationship, but he has to keep up the facade that he is still happily dating this woman that he's been dating for real for like many, many years. But behind the scenes, they've already broken up and that they're waiting for the press tour to end so that they can announce their breakup. But then in the process of that waiting period, he ends up falling in love with our heroine, who is completely different from the girlfriend that he is supposedly dating. She is spunky, she's spontaneous, she is strong-willed, she has a mind of her own, and they go well together. It's like an opposites attract romance, and they spend so much time with each other. Paparazzi busts in and sees that they're together, and there's all these rumors and gossip spreading around that he's cheating on the girlfriend, and they have to clear up all this like image, and they have to pretend that they are in a working relationship and that she is his designer for the premiere and that they're just working closely together. And she is a designer, so she is tasked to design a suit for him for this premiere event, and they build a friendship first and they fall in love. And it's just such a great book because there's so many elements to this book where I don't want to tell you where it spoils it, but there's so much juicy hot drama. We finally figure out why our hero and his girlfriend for a very long time broken up, and we understand the complexities of his mindset when as a celebrity, because he always thinks that he is not as popular as his girlfriend, and he thinks that if he gets dumped by his girlfriend, he's gonna lose out on all these opportunities, these future opportunities for these bigger roles, and he's always scared about what the public will think about him on his acting ability, on the projects that he's working on, and all his image overall. It was so real and so raw a lot of the times, and it had great Asian representation, and it talked about, you know, what it's like being a minority in the film industry, and it was so well done, and I really recommend you to check it out if you haven't read it already. Doing eyeliner on camera is definitely so freaking hard, and I know I like jacked it up, but like it's okay. We're gonna keep moving on as I talk about the last book that I would definitely recommend you to read. I think I'm gonna go with like a new book that I read this year too as well, but it's a book that has been published for many years now, and I recommended this book to my friend Samantha from Books with Samantha, I believe is her username. Honestly, I forget usernames so fast, but it's A Kiss to Remember by Teresa Medeiros, and it's a wonderful book. It's honestly so sweet. It's about a hero who is really just not in it to win it. Like, he hates his upbringing because he was basically sold to his uncle because his uncle needed an heir. And he was living such a nice life, very peaceful life with his family and his mom and his dad in this like little small cottage house. And he was having a great time. He had a cat too as well. He had a really nice childhood until he got sold. When he got sold, he basically lost everything and he felt really bad. And he just turned into a completely different person. He hated his mother because his mother was supposed to protect him, but his mother sold him. So when he's older and his parents have died, he still has this cottage that he needs to take over and, you know, take care of. And what he wants to do is that he wants to get rid of it. He wants to sell it because it brings back all the bad memories of his childhood. He wants to forget about everything. But what happens is that our heroine and her family are living in the cottage because they had a previous relationship with his mom that he didn't know of, and she was able to live in the house after her death. And she wants to own the house. Like, she's going to stop anybody who's going to try to take it away from her, including him. And what essentially happens is before they even officially meet, she goes into the forest. She sees a man laying on the floor, clearly fallen off of his horse. And he is confused, dazed. He forgets everything. He doesn't even know his name. He doesn't know his past history. And she thinks that this is the perfect opportunity to have him be her fiance, because stipulation in like the contract rules, it says that if she is married, she can own the house. So she makes him believe that they are together romantically, and he doesn't think that anything is real because he has a hard time understanding what she's telling him, because he doesn't understand how he knows certain things, or certain things are very familiar to him, or how he understands like different things that he wouldn't understand if he was just like a plain commoner. So he sees that he's different from others because of his education levels, but he can't pinpoint it and he can't explain it. So they kind of go on about living their life together as he slowly regains his memory. And it's only until like a pivotal moment where he remembers everything. And it comes down to the point whether or not he's willing to forgive her for lying to him this entire time, or he is going to be reckless, be rude, be mean, be vicious, and, you know, plot revenge against her. And it was such a great book. It brought tears to my eyes because of how sweet our hero is. And I need you guys to read it because then we can understand why I love the hero so much. But anyways, those are all the books that I would definitely reread over and over again if I had access to them on a deserted island. If you haven't read any of these books yet, I would definitely recommend you to add it to your TBR because they're some of my favorites. And I'll see you guys again in a new video. Bye.